Yeah, hit me with it. I forgot you. I'm out of it today. Hopefully.
Oh, this is a fun list, dude.
Let's hope I can make it all the way through. What are we starting with today, Tyler?
We're starting with the video game Braid.
Braid, little hot dog braid.
It's 2008, man.
It's 2008.
Yep.
We're talking about Braid. This is a like 2D. Think of like Mario, but with Prince of Persia elements.
Yeah.
And being able to rewind.
Man.
I've only played this game once. I really don't have a
same.
whole lot to say about it, other than it's a fun little 2D platformer.
Here's the problem I'm having right now. I pinched my nipples as a joke, and now they won't unhard. Now they won't unharden.
Okay.
So I'm trying to massage them down.
Metapod used harden.
I did. That's me, Metapod, on my nipples. So I could say a lot about Braid because I kind of revere this game. This is the game that thrust John Blow into video game design Hall of Fame or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So like you said, it's a 2D platformer that has a rewind mechanic, similar to Prince of Persia. But there's no limit to the rewind you can use. And there's actually an interview out there of John Blow saying that he liked Prince of Persia, but one thing that really frustrated him was that they give you this rewind mechanic and limit you on its uses. And he's like, if you're going to give me this power, let me use it as much as I want. And so he proved that theory by creating this game. Braid is a monument in indie game design. Braid is one of those games that it is, you mentioned Mario, it's kind of the Mario of indie games, not even connecting it to the 2D platforming stuff, but because of its importance, because of what they did in the indie game space. This game has an incredible story. It has one of the most shocking twist endings I've ever seen in a video game ever. They take everything that you know about Mario and they subvert everything. It is truly one of those games that's like you could put it in a museum as like games as art. You know, it has a painterly style, like everything is painted.
Yeah, I do like the graphic style, artistic direction.
And that is to say that it won't age. Like, it's always going to look good. They've never done a remaster or anything, which is a shame.
That is a shame.
The only place you can get it is on Xbox Live Arcade, which you can get it for Xbox One because backwards compatibility. Right. And it's hard not to, I have nothing bad to say about this video game.
Yeah, where do you want to put it?
This is a must-play game.
Throw it in. This
is a must-play video game. Braid is almost indie perfection.
That's good.
It's an amazing game, dude.
I wish I had more to say, but I just don't.
It's so good.
I do have a lot to say about Deadspace, our next game. Remember we talked about Resident Evil 4 and how it was gonna. Yeah. It was. We talked about that behind the back, third person, over the shoulder, camera control, like as far as aiming is concerned.
Right.
This is where we talked about Gears of War, and it kind of adapted the same thing. And literally, I think the guy, the creative director for Deadspace, was like,
"Oh yeah,"
he was like, he was like, "Hey, I just want to make Resident Evil 4 in space."
Yeah,
pretty much. And that's what this is. It feels like a love letter to Resident Evil 4 as far as like, you're kind of. I don't want to say it's linear, but you're kind of going into different zones, if you will. Definitely, inventory management's there. It's not as like cool or unique as Resident Evil 4's inventory management. Here it's just item slots and you upgrade them. Dead Space 1 is it still holds up today. We just played it recently.
Yeah, go check out that Let's Play.
It's really, really good. Scary. Yeah. It's a horror game. That's probably the big thing here is that it really doubles down on the horror stuff.
So you mentioned
body horror, and like not zombies, but like basically space zombies, the necromorphs.
You mentioned you were talking about the inventory stuff and how they don't do the thing that Resident Evil 4 did. But something cool and unique that they did do was they took all your HUD elements away and they communicated all that information on diegetically onto the character.
So that's one of my favorite things that Dead Space did that like some games still don't do today, is that like all of the HUD elements were built into like your character. So like the little spinal cord on the back was
it's your health bar.
That was your health bar, and like the little kinesis module
and like your pistols actually represented how much ammo you had on the like a display or whatever.
Little display, and then
LED
every weapon had an alternate fire, and all the lasers and stuff kind of showed you where it was going to shoot. And one thing I really liked about the character you play as a space engineer, So a lot of his weapons, I mean, there's a couple weapons that are just straight up guns, but a lot of his weapons are like tools.
Yeah.
Like buzzsaw blades,
Plasma
and a
cutter.
plasma cutter, the line rack, that love that thing.
Yeah.
And then also you do get to play around with physics and slow motion and kinesis.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff. It's really good. I don't want to spoil the story or anything.
I think
like
the physics are an important thing to bring up, because in combat you're not targeting heads like you do in most undead enemy video games. You're targeting limbs, because shooting them in the head is just not going to do what you need.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. You need to be a little bit more creative. And some weapons, like those ones that kind of look like the Cloverfield monster, where their kind of shoulders are up like a T position, and they kind of just pound at the ground. Use that line rack and it'll just cut their arms off.
Yes, it's so satisfying, man. It
or
is so
use the line rack
satisfying.
and shoot their legs out from underneath them, and then shoot again and shoot the arms off.
Yeah.
And it really inspired you to get a little creative with your combat, and I really appreciate that. Hopefully we'll talk about Deadspace 2 in the future. But
it's hard not to imagine
I believe this is a must-play game. I
Okay.
think it's still pretty good. It holds up. I mean, you can find it. It's pretty readily available. You can find it everywhere. I don't think it's the best in the series. I think 2 might be the best in the series.
Absolutely, yeah. I think 2 is kind of far and away the better game in the series. The only thing that limits me from wanting to put in must-play is that because it's not quite as good, and because it is body horror, it's not going to appeal to a very wide audience.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. So you remember the marketing campaign for this? Whenever it was like they had all the moms in the room, or was that Dead Space 2? There was one where they put a bunch of moms in a room and they made them play. I guess that makes sense.
Oh, I do. Whoa,
brain
brain blast.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah, let's put it in fans of the genre, and with the caveat that if you like horror games and if you like very graphic.
Now, Dead Space 2 is a perfection of, and we'll have that conversation when we need to.
Yeah, there's a lot of gore in this game. It might not be your style. It doesn't really bother. It's not bothering me, but yeah, I think that's a good observation. I wouldn't even think about that.
That's cool. Fans of the genre is perfect, man. Especially on the backs of someone who just played Resident Evil 4.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love Resident Evil 4. I can play that game every day if I wanted to.
You're playing it right now, Brandon. Come on, we got a video to do.
I saw the PS5 announcement, by the way, side story, and they said. It said PS5 been announced. It said prepare for trouble, and it was Resident Evil 4. It said and make it double, and it was Skyrim.
That's funny.
Anyways, what's next?
Next is Fable 2. What a storied franchise this is. And not always for the best of reasons.
Yeah.
That said, though, Fable 2 is clearly the best one in the series.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, by a mile even.
I hated Fable 3 a lot.
Fable 3 had a lot of problems. Fable 1 was a proof of concept, but they didn't nail on a lot of the things that they promised. Famously, Peter Molyneux. Fable 2 was the game that kind of took those promises and they finally did something with it without ruining it by giving you all these required real estate mini games and stuff.
Right.
One really cool thing about Fable 2 that you don't always see or you don't often see in video games is how your choices actually have consequence on the world itself.
Yeah.
So this game is divided into two, no spoilers, is divided into 3 primary acts. And those primary acts are separated by big time skips.
There's one part I really, really enjoy. Slight spoiler. It's part where you go to prison.
Yes,
I really like that part.
It's fine for you to spoil that because I wanted to mention something about that specifically.
I really like that part a lot.
But choices that you make in Act 1 will determine things that happen in Act 2. Choices you make in Act 2 will determine things that happen in Act 3. And so there's this cascading effect of like all your choices kind of interacting with the environment.
And it incentivizes multiple playthroughs as well.
Exactly. And it's not just dialogue, because a lot of choice and consequence type games, the difference of the story just happens through dialogue. It actually changes, like, kind of in the, what's that game we're really looking for?
Outer Worlds?
No. Poop on me, I'm trying to remember.
Help me out here. What does it look like? Is it coming out to this year?
Oh, no, it's not, and it's not in my head either. I'll get back to it.
Is it Dying Light 2?
Dying Light 2.
All right,
Dang it. All I could think of was Dead Island because it was the same developer that did Dead Island 1.
You just said zombie parkour.
I wanted to remember myself. Anyway, in the same way that like Dying Light, that was kind of one of their big selling points was that your choices will change the way the world looks.
Right.
Fable 2 kind of did that as well.
I really like a lot of things about this game, but one thing I don't like is how drastic some of the morality choices are on your character, and even some of the statistical upgrades you'll get. Like when you maximize your strength, your dude's like an absolute unit, and he looks kind of dumb. Like,
he does.
He looks pretty dumb. And then, like I remember I told the story earlier, but for the sake of time, long story short. I bought a bunch of like houses for real estate, and then I charged rent, not a whole lot, but enough of a markup for me to make money off of it. And my dude started growing horns, and his skin was turning blue and stuff. And I was like, what the heck? And I was primarily a good guy.
Right.
It was really annoying.
There he is. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks so dumb.
Yeah, so one thing on the idea of it being dumb, I agree with you, but I think that's kind of part of the humor of the game.
Yeah, it is.
This game is it's developed it's developed to have that like the British sense of humor, like Monty Python almost.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like with the kicking the chickens and
the emotes, farting and thrusting your hips and people throwing money at you. It is a very silly game, and they really lean into that, and which I think is why, in an interesting way, the story is very dark. I think it's kind of a nice contrast.
Yeah. When it gets serious.
Now that said, I don't think the story is especially good.
No.
But I do like the contrast between the darkness of the story and the lightness of everything else.
Also, one thing I wanted to complain about is that the guns, they added guns in this one.
Yeah,
and
because it's hundreds of years in the future from Fable 1.
Yeah, and I say guns, it's like flintlock pistols and stuff, but the guns are absolutely broken.
Yeah, they're very powerful.
Yeah, if you upgrade your guns, you can just push the Y button over and over and over again, and you'll win every fight.
I do want to mention though that the combat is actually really interesting, and it's not a kind of combat system that you see in any other game. The way that it works is like you have it devoted. Each weapon style is devoted to face buttons.
Yeah, X is melee, Y was
guns, and then B is magic.
Yeah.
And so the way that you modify that is by using the right stick, almost in a Super Smash Brothers kind of way. And I thought that was a really cool way to do a third-person action RPG combat system.
Kind of mix it up a little bit.
Right,
Holding down the melee attack and then letting go and holding a different direction.
Exactly. And I think that created a really cool flow to combat. I think the combat is a lot of fun.
Let's talk about placement, though.
I think sure, let's talk about it.
Because I don't know if I can stick it must play.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a fan of the genre game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't want to say fans of the series because if we were talking about Fable 3 for some reason, I'd say that's fans of the series.
Right, yeah.
Let's put it there. I like it there.
Yes, I agree. And I think if there's someone out there who's like, they're talking about making a Fable 4, should I go back and play the Fable games? I think my explanation is that you should just play Fable 2 because the other two games, they don't connect in a serious way. They connect almost in an Elder Scrolls
Fable 3,
kind of way.
Yeah, Fable 3 had cool ideas, but totally fell flat.
And you don't need to play them to know, like, to get into 4 whenever they ultimately do it.
I think we can power through this next one real quick.
Oh boy, War.
Fallout 3.
War never changes.
War never changes. This is the first Fallout game that really hit the mainstream in a serious way. I remember playing this and I was like, wow, it's just like Elder Scrolls, but in a post-apocalyptic kind of steampunky. I'd say steampunk because of the power armor. Maybe cyberpunk's not that right.
No, it's more like a retro-futuristic.
Yeah,
with all the like
alternate 1970s. Whenever they were still kind of stuck in the 50s, they developed laser guns and stuff, and then war broke out.
And they what was it? Interestingly, in the Fallout universe, there's certain technology that hadn't been invented, so they relied on like the combustion engine or something hadn't been invented, so they relied on atomic power.
Yeah, atomic
capacitors or something.
Everything is radioactive. Everything was based off of radioactive material and stuff.
And you see that in the game. Anything that has an engine is like really overly designed.
Yeah, I love that. 1950s. The first time I saw the Vault Boy, like just the little Vault Boy icons on my status effects and stuff. Totally takes that Elder Scrolls approach with making your character in the beginning, choosing how you're going to want to play, and stat distribution. I do prefer New Vegas over this one.
Yeah,
but they're both really great games. I like the story. I like that you can just straight go to where you pretty much where you need to be instead of doing a bunch of side questing if you already know where to go. Like for example, when you're going to find your dad, if you know where he is, you can just go straight to him. The story is really interesting. Tons of interesting characters to see out in the wastelands. I think my biggest complaint is what some people would. I guess it's kind of redundant of a complaint, but it's just really drab.
Yeah.
You're
right.
Really, really drab. I mean, I'm thinking of this game in my head, and I just see like a green-gray color.
The Capital Wasteland.
And it's just like there's no blue. There's no like the sky is hardly even blue.
Yeah. It definitely has that. Also, the mall is the most atrociously designed area. that I think I've ever seen in a AAA video game.
And well, downtown DC sucks, but too.
Exactly, just the way you have to use all those tunnel systems to get from place to place. So it is incredibly confusing.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I hated going to that area. But not to harp on the issues, I think that's a fair one to bring up. That it is just so overly drab. Also,
a lot of good personality in this game with like the music and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 3 Dog. Come on, man.
3 Dog.
One thing that I've kind of, as I've gotten older, that I've kind of developed a distaste for is how not Obsidian, but Bethesda games, their RPGs, the enemies level with you.
Yeah.
And whenever I was younger, as a teenager or whatever, that was fine. But as I played more RPGs, it's like it really does not make much sense that this mud crab is able to withstand this Zeta flare because I'm Donald Duck in Kingdom Hearts 3. It makes no sense, you know? And so I think that's something to bring up, maybe not necessarily as a detractor, but something as like, hey, this game does do leveling.
Yeah.
If you're not already into the Bethesda RPGs, that's something that people need to know.
Yeah, because a raider will come out of nowhere and just murk you.
Yeah, it's just an interesting way to do. Again, not a bad thing necessarily.
If there's like a hardcore level raider, it's still not gonna give you as much trouble as the lowest level Deathclaw.
Right.
So it just depends on how your character.
There are definitely tiers to it, for sure.
I really like this game.
Me
I like
too.
the weapons. It's unfortunate that there's no like iron sights and stuff. They really relied on the VAT system, which is something we didn't get into.
Which VATS is a great thing to bring up because it was an homage to the action point system of Fallout 1 and 2.
But whenever we started getting the iron sights and stuff with New Vegas, VATS became a little bit less necessary. But I really like this game a lot. I'm gonna vouch to put it in must play. I think it still stands up. It's really good.
Okay.
I think I could almost say play this if you like the style of game. Play this before you play Fallout 4. Is that bad to say?
No, it's not. I definitely like this more than I like Fallout 4. I'm happy to put it in must play. The only reticence I had.
And really good DLC, by the way.
Yes,
really good DLC.
Yes, well, some of it, not all of it.
Most of it's good. The pit sucks.
The pit. Well, I actually think that the Alaska one.
Oh yeah, that one's okay.
That one's kind of dookie.
The pit's kind of worse.
My only reticence to putting it in must play was how much I think New Vegas improves on it. But we'll have that conversation when we get to that year.
Yes, we sure will, because it's gonna be on the list. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh, of course, that's a lock, dude. Far Cry 2.
Can I borrow that pen, by the way?
Yes, of course.
Far Cry 2.
Absolutely.
This is a Far Cry from the original game
From Far
setting.
Cry 5?
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah.
So this one went from the original Far Cry games were like this tropical island setting, and this one kind of puts you smack dab in the middle of like basically a civil war, or I guess it's a civil war in Africa.
An unnamed country.
Story-wise, not really anything remarkable.
No.
But I think it's systematically is what this game does and why we put it on the list, because like simple things like throwing a Molotov cocktail and then some brush in the grass, starts catching on fire and trailing all over the place. A lot of stuff like that. I mean, the first time I shot a gun and it started jamming. I thought that was really cool. I think this is the one that did. I think it had those like animations where like if you're hurt, it's those really gruesome like pulling a bullet out with some pliers.
Right. Yeah. So this was done by director Clint Hocking. He was the guy from Chaos Theory. He's the guy on Watch Dogs 3. I'm really excited about that game. But you're right. It had a lot of survival elements in a game that people didn't expect survival elements in, because Far Cry 1 was kind of just a first-person corridor shooter almost.
Yeah, and then the Far Cry after that, you're like this mutated dude.
Yeah, you had like Wolverine claws,
big, muscly,
weird
arms.
stuff.
Yeah.
So Far Cry 2 is a really interesting diversion. It did Far Cry before the by the numbers, like paint by numbers, that kind of came after with the Far Cry games.
Go to this tower, reveal the
Exactly.
map, see the objectives, go do side quests,
Right.
blah blah blah.
This
was fine for Far Cry.
And Far Cry 3, it was a revolution.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. For Far Cry 3, that was like, whoa, this is cool. But then 1,000 games after it. So Far Cry 2 didn't do any of that stuff. You're kind of just given an open world, and similar to like you were talking about with Fallout 3. If you know where your dad is, you can kind of go to him.
Yeah.
Fallout 2 or Far Cry 2 kind of had a similar thing where it was just all open to you. There were no restrictions on where you could go, in that mercenaries way almost.
Yeah, and you could pick your character, by the way, in the beginning. There was an assortment of different... The reason I remember is because you said mercenaries. There's an assortment of different mercenaries you can play as.
Interesting.
I don't think it changes the story, but I think it might change. Like, they all had specialties, maybe. I can't remember, but they had like bios you could read about. Like this guy's a sharpshooter. This guy's with this guy's from Sweden.
That makes sense. Yeah,
I can't remember.
Man, I completely forgot about that.
I always played as the old Swedish dude. Not Swedish. He was like Croatian or something. I can't remember.
That's fun. One thing that I think is cool, because I think I'm with you. The story is nothing to write home about. But one thing that I think is cool about Far Cry 2's story is that just like in most civil wars throughout history, there is no one true good guy, except for the American Civil War. That notwithstanding, there's no true good guy in Far Cry 2. This is a war between two very bad factions, and you're there as a mercenary just to make money.
Yeah,
like so it's a very transactional
call
relationship.
Who you want to help.
Exactly. Yeah, and so you do bad things in this game, and the people around you do bad things. And so I think that's kind of an interesting thing to do, not to have like I'm the savior of the universe. I'm gonna save all of these people. It's kind of cool to just be like,
it's not just black and white.
I'm kind of a scumbag.
There's like the most gray area.
Yeah, it is.
So
Far Cry 2 is a really interesting game. It has a lot of systemic elements that you were talking about. I don't think that it's a very accessible game, though.
No.
I think it's going to be held back a lot by its reliance on the malaria stuff. Its reliance on survival elements.
Yeah, there's some pretty annoying systems in there. As many cool systems there are, there's also annoying systems.
Yeah, the gun jamming thing is a good one to bring up. I mean, people complain about Breath of the Wild having breakable weapons. Like this did that kind of stuff, and then some.
If you're asking me my preference, I like that kind of stuff.
Me too.
But some people, they don't like it, man. I think fans of the series is too low.
Okay.
I think fans of the genre would be a good spot.
Interestingly, you say that about fans of the series. I don't know that someone who loves Far Cry 3 or 4 is going to like 2.
I think if you go play Far Cry, any Far Cry after 3 or after, and you go back and play this, you might not like it.
Yeah, you'll see the DNA, of course, but it's going to be a way different experience. I think this is for someone who likes those more demanding survival-y type of games.
For sure.
This is a Fog.
Gears 2.
Oh man, this is a good game.
Let's not get stuck on. We've already talked about the foundation of this game. We talked about Gears of War 1 2 episodes ago, or 1 episode ago. I can't remember.
It was 2006. So yeah.
What was new here? Remind me. What was the new stuff?
New stuff. Well, first of all, there were weapons. This was the first one that had the mortar.
Yep.
This was the first one where you could carry heavy weapons around, and remember when you had a chain gun, you could mount it up on a piece of. You didn't have that in Gears of War 1. This one had the chainsaw. Remember beam struggles in old Dragon Ball games? Yeah. You could do that in this game with your
chainsaw
Lancer.
Battles, when two chainsaws collide.
So hype.
This is what it's like when chainsaws collide.
So
Power Man 5000.
So this it had that stuff. It had this is the first time you could use a meat shield, where if you if you knocked a locust down, you shot him in the leg a bunch, and you could pick him up and use him as a body shield. It had an actual a riot shield that you could use.
Not a lot of games were doing that at the time. I don't think. Other than Splinter Cell, which really wasn't the idea.
No, that was just for interrogation.
Yeah, it wasn't meat shielding.
This was a good game to do that in, because when you blast someone with a troika in this game, they turn into ground beef.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect game for that.
Very meaty game.
You take a meat shield out there, the dude's on the troika, and you let him just melt him.
Horde mode.
This one had horde mode. This is the first one that had horde mode.
That's the biggie for me.
Yes. Here's another really cool thing about this that I forgot about. This game had, if you're playing co-op with your buddy, if you're playing online co-op, campaign co-op, say you had a friend who's doesn't really play shooters, he could be on the easy mode and you could play on hard mode and you would never know the difference.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing.
That's a really cool feature.
Also, this game might have the best story arc.
That was exactly where I was going there. Next, I think of all the stories, at least I played Gears of War 3, but I didn't really play it seriously. This is the one where it was probably if you ask anyone the biggest story beats in Gears of War, they'll probably all point to a lot of moments from this game. I feel. I
think you're right. I think there's one moment in 3 that would stand up to this one, but I think this is the one that has the greatest collection of really good moments.
Yeah, I feel like they did it just about everything they could to make a good sequel here.
Yeah,
kind of like the Terminator 2 to the Terminator.
Yeah. This is if you had Halo 3 people, I think in a similar sense you had Gears of War 2 people. I was definitely a Halo 3 person, but I love Gears of War 2. But I do think that Gears of War 2 is the best of that franchise, and it might be the best cover shooter game ever. You know,
that's bold. That's pretty bold.
I don't know what else.
It's pretty good. I don't know. I can't think of anything.
I mean, Gears of War 2 is an incredible video game. It is like I think it would stand up. I haven't played Gears of War 2, to be fair, since like around the time that it came out. But I do remember. Here's something I do remember about it compared to the first one. It looks a lot better. They really improved on the graphics. Also, more. Torque Bow was in it. Yes. Torque Bow was in 1 though. Also. Yeah. There was a greater variety of environments, so there was more diversity.
I feel like this is the last one that we can put in must play.
I think it's the only one we're gonna put in must play. Gears of War 1 was not.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I didn't remember.
Yeah,
I don't see Gears of War 3.
Gears of War 2 is similar to like a Fable 2. If someone's like, I've never played Gears of War, I don't know that I would recommend them go play 1, even though 1 has some good stuff in it.
Unless you want the story.
Unless you want the story. Gears of War 2 is the best they ever did it with that franchise.
I agree. Oof.
Oh boy.
Okay, so you already know that I have a super soft spot for Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Theft Auto is a franchise I hold very near and dear, and Grand Theft Auto 4, which is what we're about to talk about, is kind of the black sheep of the series, and I love it for that. I think that gives it its own identity in a franchise of games that are somewhat feel, especially up until this point, felt extremely similar, other than just having a lot of new features. This is the first one to do actual physics-based gameplay.
Yep.
There's actual physics engine in there.
First one to do multiplayer.
The first one to do trigger controls for accelerating and braking. Incredibly well performed and well written story.
They overhauled the combat system. You could actually take cover and shoot at people, whereas in older ones it was just
over the shoulder aiming, like we talked about, cover shooting that we've talked about. The driving controls. All right, here's one thing that you may or may not like: the driving controls. The cars feel like big slippery boats. Every car, even the sports cars, feel like big slippery boats. Motorcycles feel that way. I like it because it's not my favorite. If you ask me, of course I'm gonna say let me play Grand Theft Auto 5 because it feels slick and arcadey, I guess you could say. But here it was like if you're in a car chase, man. If you're really good, you can start pulling that handbrake and cutting those corners really early. But like I can understand how you can play it like you're in an Escalade and like your suspension is almost turning you over because you're cutting donuts. It's a little jarring.
Yeah.
But there are some things about this game. Let me get my negatives out of the way because now we're talking about the car boat controls. No airplanes, no helicopters. Well, there's helicopters.
You're very limited. There are helicopters.
There's helicopters, no airplanes, no parachuting.
Yeah, there's not much in the way of like ridiculousness insofar as vehicles are
character
concerned.
customization took kind of you could still customize your character.
Even still, though, the clothing options were limited.
Options were limited. Couldn't cut your guy's hair. Going from San Andreas that you could eat until you got fat.
Yeah.
Your character really didn't change, which is understandable. That's okay. But it was like the clothing. It's like, do you want to wear like tracksuits and big like hobo-looking clothes, or do you want to wear a suit? Is pretty much what
that's pretty much the option. Like a suit and shades. That's the only way to make Nico look cool.
Yeah. I like the story because it's a little bit more grounded.
So I want to kind of linger on this point because there's a theory that I posed to you like a couple years ago. Grand Theft Auto 4 feels to me more similar to a Red Dead game, especially Red Dead Redemption 1, than it does a GTA game. It is so different from GTA 5, which came after, and GTA San Andreas, which came before, but it has a lot of similarity to Red Dead Redemption 1.
In this game, coming from San Andreas, you're not jumping from one airplane to the other and hijacking it and going to Liberty City to go assassinate a bunch of people in Marco's Bistro from Liberty City in Grand Theft Auto 3. In this one, the craziest thing you're going to be doing is like a bank heist.
Yeah, bank heist.
It feels much more grounded. There's actually some like political overtones.
There are, yeah. So like it's a lot more difficult to get your hands on guns.
There's no gun stores. You have to call your black market dude to come. He pulls up his van, and like I used to think that was the coolest thing. He put like you're just looking through the weapons in the van. And also, you're playing as an immigrant for the first time. You're playing as someone who's not an American character.
Right.
Like literally, the first part of the game is you're stepping off of the boat.
And he's not an unrestrained psychopath.
Yeah, and he's not.
Which I like that.
Yeah, there is a little ludonarrative dissonance.
Which of course, it's a GTA game
because you can go do whatever.
It's a sandbox. You can run over a cop if you wanted to.
But yeah, your character wasn't just a psychopath.
Right.
And he.
And those are the things. Okay, great.
He wasn't like a stereotypical Russian dude either. He had a really serious background and some really dark dark storytelling, and depending on how you
sorry.
choose certain things in this game, the ending can change differently as well.
I really love GTA 4. I have a place in my heart for this game that I don't have for a lot of games like this.
Soundtrack, really good.
Yeah. I couldn't tell the face you were making. I thought you were like,
oh, soundtrack's really good.
Yeah, it is very good. We kind of skirted over this. It's the first one to do multiplayer. They had
GTA Online
somewhere around 10 or so game modes.
They had
like that.
Trust me, I'm aware.
yeah. Well, I actually wanted to say I've played way more GTA 4 online than I have GTA 5. Because when this game came out, it was like, holy crap, this is what I've been wanting from GTA for years.
Well, it was the sandbox mode. It was the sandbox mode, like the free roaming. That was the best part.
Dude, I made so many. These were still in the days when I would make friends with people over Xbox Live.
Yep.
We would just get in there, dick around, ride motorcycle, that sort of thing.
There was racing and deathmatch and like little missions you can go do, but the most fun was just free roaming around the city with your friends.
It was the first time you ever got to do that in a video game, at least on console.
There really wasn't much to do, but you could just go have fun with the physics engine and stuff. Do the old swing set glitch. Mm-hmm. I think the swing set glitch alone warrants
the swing set
a must-play spot on this list.
Okay.
I think for sure it's a must-play game. I really like it, and this is one of those, like we were talking about Far Cry 2. I'm not sure if you could put it in fans of the series because
it is such a different thing.
It's so different. No more secret packages. Now you're shooting pigeons. You can't swim underwater. A lot of strange things, and then also. It is a very restrained game. Incredible DLC for this game as well, which we may or may not talk about in the future. About to see if we can consider those standalone games or not.
Yeah.
But I think you want to power to the next one.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
5 minutes.
Left 4 Dead. What an interesting game this is. So this is developed by Turtle Rock, I think is the name of the developer. Mm-hmm. This is another one of those situations.
Last Dungeons and Link to the Past.
This is one of those situations where. Valve found a really interesting game by a small developer and then just bought them out.
Yep.
You know, Left 4 Dead is a really cool game. It's a game to play with friends primarily. I mean, I don't see another way to play this game.
4-player co-op, zombie hordes, interesting characters to play as, some interesting systems with how the health works. Every time you heal, you don't necessarily get 100% of your health back. The pills give you temporary.
Yeah,
buffs.
they did. It depletes over time.
You know what this reminds me of?
And multiplayer also.
I'm just coming to the realization. This is like basically a zombie. If Gauntlet was a zombie game.
Okay.
Because like player 1 needs food badly.
Right.
Instead of being like that, it's like, hey, you come grab the pills. Because they weren't just unlimited items. You had to like, hey, do you want the assault rifle?
Yeah.
Or hey, do you want this
Pills
gun?
here.
So it reminds me a lot of Gauntlet with like special enemy types.
Well, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think the thing that's most important to talk about with this game is how every encounter with zombies was different from the last. If you replayed the same level 10 times, it's going to be a little different each time.
Sometimes the horde would show up. Sometimes a car alarm would go off.
Sometimes a tank would be there. Sometimes it would be a witch.
That's really cool.
I think that's something that sets this game apart from any other co-op game that I've played outside of Left 4 Dead 2, of course.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint about this game is I never really liked how whenever you have a gun, no matter what gun it is, whenever you're fighting a horde of zombies, is you just kind of shred through them like paper. There's really not a lot of like feedback. There's not a lot of crunch to the gameplay.
Yeah.
Now when you're fighting the big things, there are, but also something that was remedied in the sequel. There's no melee weapons, so like whenever you have tons of them around you, all you have to do is you can either shove them or you can just shoot in circles, which is probably the better idea. But they kind of remedied that.
They did
in the sequel.
Oh no!
No, it's good. Keep going. We're good. We're good. Your computer's still on?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, right. Yeah.
It's thunderstorming. We're good.
We're good.
You're good.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting game. Here's where it goes.
What?
It goes in skippable. Brandon, if you get Left 4 Dead 2, you can get Left 4 Dead 1 DLC that has the entire game in it.
Oh, yeah, let's put it there. Oh, this is a Shadow of the Colossus situation.
It is. You can literally, if you get the Left 4 Dead 2 disc, I'm pointing at it, it's not here, it's at my house. Oh. If you get the Left 4 Dead 2 disc and you go to Xbox Live, they have a Left 4 Dead 1 DLC pack for $5. It has every level from Left 4 Dead in it.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. It's like one of the coolest DLCs
also,
out
Left
there.
4 Dead 2 takes place in Louisiana. We'll probably be talking about that later.
Man, let me tell you about Coach.
Well, that's crazy, man.
So, Left 4 Dead, I love Left 4 Dead a ton. My wife, it's one game that my wife and I bonded over.
I got hit with a shocker when the thunderstorm just knocked out the power, and then I got hit with a shocker when you put that skippable.
This game is skippable only because you can get the entire thing in Left 4 Dead 2, which is a game we'll talk about at another time.
Okay, cool. Hey, by the way, everyone, it's thunderstorming outside the studio right now, and we just lost power, but it's all good. It's all good. Oh, man.
Super Smash Brothers Brawl!
Can I tell you, I was so excited for this game to come out. Do you remember the
Dojo?
Do you remember the
Dude,
Dojo?
come on, man.
Every day I would check that
Me
thing.
too.
I would check it every single day. I remember seeing King DDD as a playable character.
I remember reading about the super spicy curry and being like, what?
Yeah, dude. I remember they showed the Sonic thing there?
Yeah.
The Sonic reveal?
Mm-hmm.
Man, everything we knew and loved about Super Smash Brothers cranked up to 11.
Yeah.
The next one, the textures look great. I remember Mario's blue jeans look real.
Yes, you could see the fabric.
Yeah, all kinds of cool new characters.
Solid Snake.
Solid Snake and Sonic.
Yeah.
Third-party characters
Icons,
in a Smash
man.
Brothers game. The same gameplay we know and love, right?
Yeah.
The percentages going up.
With some tweaks.
The launch ratios. This one felt a lot better. I mean, some people, we've talked about Melee before, people swear by that game, but this one felt a lot better. There's one big thing, let's get it out the way, it's the worst thing about this game, is random tripping. They made it to where your character would trip randomly, and it was so stupid, I don't know why they did it. That's really the only negative thing I have to say about this game. Everything else is really good. The story mode, Subspace Emissary, I wish... Even Smash Bros. Ultimate,
which is one of man.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is one of my favorite games of all time. I love that game. I play it almost every day. Still, story mode. I wish it was in that game.
No other Smash game can touch Brawl because of
the spirit. The spirit stuff is cool, but jeez, I would have loved to have Subspace Emissary. Remember those cutscenes? The Kirby.
So amazing.
Kirby coming down, and blowing up that thing.
Ridiculous. That's immediately what I thought of when I was watching The Last Jedi.
Captain
was Kirby.
Falcon murdering Pikmin. Like, do you remember all that stuff?
Yeah.
Marth from Fire Emblem and Meta Knight
clashing
battling.
swords. Come on,
you remember the ice climbers were climbing up the mountain? Lucario's like sitting up there on the peak. So many don't get goosebumps. So many cool moments.
It's so cool. It's cool. It's cool not because the actual gameplay is very good, because honestly, it's not very good. You're using your Smash characters to run around the platform.
The story mode gameplay actually is not. Yeah, it's not that good.
It's not that good, but those cutscenes are incredible.
I still go and watch that full story.
Do you?
I still, yeah.
I've watched clips from time to time.
I'll go and watch the full thing. Just
I'm not above it.
Cutscenes only.
Also, can we say that the Brawl new orchestrations of some of that music? Incredible. God. Final Destination, the best in the series.
This is the first one where they really went hardcore in that music.
Yeah. The main menu music, oh my god.
The main menu music,
dun, 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 dun.
And then friggin' cheese toast, the trophies.
Yeah, trophies. Come on, man. They're gone.
Yeah, the trophies are gone, but the trophies were really well done. Final Smash.
Gourmet race. Sorry.
Gourmet. Final Smashes were in this one.
Yeah, this is the first time.
Oh yeah, Yep.
Pokemon Trainer. What a cool addition. That was the first time we ever got one of that. Only time, actually.
Yeah, the only one. And
they
brought him back.
Like
they brought him back.
Yeah.
Because they just cut everyone but Charizard for some reason. I don't know why.
Right.
But they brought him back.
Yeah.
Where to put it though?
This is an interesting game.
I'm caught here.
I don't think it's must play.
No, me neither.
Because of Ultimate. I think Ultimate, it's just like if you're going to play Smash, I think the only reason to bust Brawl back out, because Ultimate even has the new orchestrations, or it has the Brawl orchestrations in its soundtrack.
Yep, in the menu music, you want that menu music.
The only reason to get Brawl is to play the Subspace Emissary, and I think the only people that are going to appreciate the Subspace Emissary are people who are already fans of the series.
Agreed. That's where I thought that's where I wanted to put it from the beginning, so let's just stick it there.
Yeah. Brawl's is... Man, got me through a lot of hard times.
Me too, man. I have such fond memories.
First Smash Bros. With online multiplayer.
Yep.
Friend codes.
Yep.
Love a friend code.
I remember when I got my Wii for Christmas, I was like, it's okay, because I really didn't want to ask for Twilight Princess on GameCube, and then I got the Wii. I was like, no, it's okay, because I know the next Smash Bros. Is gonna be on this.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude.
All right, this one's all you, man.
World of Goo is a cool game. It is, I hold it up in a similar vein as like a Tetris, which is to say, it is accessible to every person who's ever played a video game. World of Goo is a... I told my friends in the Discord this. I was going to coin this game for the new Enhance. Enhance is the developers of Rez, developers of Tetris Effect. I was like, I'm gonna coin this term Lemmings-like because their new game looks like it. World of Goo is kind of a Lemmings-like. You have these little goo balls that you're like instructing around the environment to create these bridges, to not just bridges, but to create constructs to get from point A to point B.
Connections to transfer your little
it's a strand
your little
game.
goo people. And Lemmings-like.
That was a joke.
Lemmings-like is a good phrase.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Lemmings-like games that we saw this generation. Actually, there's actually some of them like a lot of those PlayStation like network games. Like, do you remember the one with the little elephants? You got to build the suspension bridge to make them go across.
You know what's so funny, man? Now that we're talking about it,
or like the little rubber ducks where you got to bring them. You use a 6-axis.
Bridge builders has become kind of a thing.
Oh, really?
Like, remember last year? Portal Bridge Builder was announced, and people were like, "Yo, a new Portal game!" And it was like, "It's a bridge builder," and people were like, "Wait, what?"
I remember that.
Bridge building has become a weird like subgenre of game.
A lot of like I won't say indie games, but indie games and small games were kind of these lines.
So World of Goo is a really cool game. It starts out with you just building pretty basic bridges across gaps, and it ramps up into you creating bridges where like the wind, you're in a wind tunnel, it's blasting wind, and you've got these like these flammable goo balls, and like if it gets hit by fire, your entire bridge will collapse. It actually has surprisingly good music. And there's also a really interesting story if you watch the cutscenes that's about like worker exploitation, because you're using these goo balls to build these bridges and they are literally dying. And the goo balls have personality. It's not like they're just like these like literal goo balls with nothing to say. They have like eyes and they'll kind of talk to you, like, you know. They're like, they have like these barks and squeals and stuff. I say this with complete earnestness and with complete sincerity. This is a must-play video game.
I think the coolest way to play this game is on the Wii.
Yes, dude, and that's how I played it.
I did a little research after you told me about this.
This is such a cool game. The only time the only way I ever played this game was with friends. It's not a two-player. I mean, I think there might actually be multiplayer. Maybe in some of the more recent ones. It just came out for Switch last year. Dude, this game came out in 2008. They're still releasing it. And this is the Resident Evil 4 of indie games, dude. It's on every stinking platform, but the best way to play this game is to get some friends around and like you start like theorizing, you start like like coming up with ideas, plans to make this great structure.
I think the best way to play this game is with friends and on the Wii specifically.
On the Wii,
but with friends is the best way.
Yeah, World of Goo is. I compared it to Tetris. It has that kind of accessibility. Even like my mom, who's played like one video game ever, this is the kind of game for her.
That's good. But hey, what do you guys think about that? Is there anything that you would change? Do you not like to play some of these? Let us know in the comments down below and check out some of our other stuff that we do. Now it's time for us to go deliberate on 2009.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy, my favorite part of the night.
Me too.
Let's go check out these things. Hey, check out our other stuff. We'll see you next time.